You ready? I show you.
Yeah.
I think I did what we talked about. Better?
Leadership often begins in silence or violence. But staying in either silence or violence is unsustainable. I am Dr. Kimberly Bonnickson, founder and CEO of Legends Research, where we serve the leaders and changemakers who bear the violence, the silence, the isolation, and the unseen loneliness, yet still rise to every challenge. In honor of the leaders who carry the weight of the world on their shoulders, Voices of Legends chronicles these journeys, demanding that we look up. We cast our gazes to the sky, breathe deeply, and courageously stand to fight another day, to build another dream, to embrace another legacy. We have and we will continue to conduct the research. We know that 72% of chief executives in every sector, from profit to nonprofit, business to education, government to private sector, suffer from leadership loneliness because leadership is lonely. Unaddressed, unstudied, undocumented, leadership loneliness is costing us our legacy builders, a cost that no society can bear. At Legends, we study that silence. We study that violence. We sit with leaders in those silences. We listen. We stand beside leaders who choose to do the impossible. Then we study those legends. We document those traits. We honor those leaders and we share that wisdom with the new leaders, ready to fill in that shrinking pipeline of legacy builders. Our mission and our promise to every legend we share is to invite others to see, to witness, and to learn, forming the foundations for the next generation of legends to shine. This is Voices of Legends, where the silence breaks, the violence pauses, and legacy shines.
Beautiful.
Okay.
Yeah. Send it or play it for yourself tonight before bed, when you wake up in the morning, and see how it sounds at different moods that you're in. So it's like you. So we're creating a new chapter for Kim as a person, but also creating chapter 2 of her business. And we did this with some of like Tony's coaches, where I said, you know what, we can actually apply a personality to a business, because even if it's Xerox, what got us up to today is chapter 1 for where they sit today. But now chapter 2, how do we take a goal and look at that and put that into play? So we can talk about all that.
Thank you for kicking my butt today, because that's pretty much what you've been doing the whole time that we've known each other. Is you make me really uncomfortable, and then I get more comfortable in it.
I was scared how you were going to answer that. You got to have resistance.
So this morning, we met. We've been out of contact for a couple of weeks just because of scheduling. And within that time, there's been a lot happening in Legends, and there's been a lot happening with Coach Troy's High Frequency Habits. You've been on the road. You've been crossing international borders and fighting through a lot of nonsense and weather and silliness that now everybody's getting to fight through. We met like a year ago. Yeah.
A year ago, yeah.
A year ago. And I reached out to you because I was fighting to get my brain back. And I knew in my heart and my gut and what remained of my brain post-stroke that it was a matter of exercise. It was a matter of the habits that you teach, but I didn't know you at all. But there was a connection there, and there was a need there. And because of that, I think we've spent a pretty interesting year together.
Mhm. No, it's been remarkable to watch you transform, and I think like if you look at the strategies that I teach, create, live, chapter two, and I do that both for you as a person, but also for a business. But for the moment, where we can start is to talk about what it is that got you out throughout your chapter one. We could define that 0 to, the age that you were at when we met could be chapter one. And as we looked at that, if you remember, we talked about what are your goals, Kim? And we talked about a goal in terms of
And I
health.
wasn't happy with that question from you. I'll be
Oh,
honest. I was like, could you just be like every other coach that has ever talked to me and start out, what's your goal, Kim? What's your goal? What do you want to do? And I did not receive that well, to be honest.
yeah. And we look at like health, relationships, really breaking that down, but then taking that,
But why do you think I listened to you?
I think because you, what I choose to, I think because I think what you see from me is being a product of the product, knowing that I had to go through a transition myself in my chapter one
I actually
to a
didn't
next
know
chapter.
that when I started listening to you, though.
No, I don't know then.
I did not. Because I didn't like you bossing me around. I didn't like getting pushed into uncomfortable places, but I kept coming back. Is that normal?
I think when you see that someone believes in you and where you want to go, it's interesting. I look at horses. I know that we both enjoy animals and horses. I think a horse has that same perception. They know that they want to trust you. They want to be around you. They know that they're going to have challenges, but you'll be there for them to pay attention and let them go through their journey and what it is that they need to trust. I think trust is a big thing, Kim. Originally you were looking for to figure out your, I think I was probably in a position from what it is that you wanted to do again since your stroke. And I'm in that world of what I was doing, but I think you wanted to go back into that world, and that's where the familiarity is, that we're both on the same footing.
Yeah.
However, during that next chapter that we were creating for you that would align with your goals in terms of your relationship with yourself first and then your family, how would that affect your mental and physical health? And then how would that align financially in terms of the results? And so as we went through those processes, really it was first of all was becoming confident in your own self.
Yeah. And that took a lot. So, I mean, we've talked about all of the weird research that I've done. Some very strange research projects that have been asked to prove the impossible, to have been asked to look at miracles, for example, and things that are beyond explanation. And one of the few things that I've been able to point to and prove absolutely is that there is an energy and a frequency, in your words, that transcends our verbal capacity, that transcends our business capacity. And that honestly is the only thing that I can answer for why you and I stay in the same frequency circle.
I think when people are on the same types of journeys or same path, you get aligned with people energetically very quickly. And it's no different than people who are lovers of cars or horses or business or what have you. Maybe you're into something not so good, alcoholism or what have you, gambling. But you're looking at the types of things that people have in common. And I think when you truly care about helping people and their life, not only from a personal level, but also from a business level, we both come from backgrounds of being around wonderful people like Tony Robbins or other individuals that have been focused on helping people on both levels of their life. You really want to be a part of that and see where it is that you fit in, because that's where you're going to get your certainty from and your significance and your relationships. I mean, it really is fulfilling to the highest level in your 6 human needs to follow people who are much like you going through the same journey, because then you feel like you're adequate.
Interesting. So you picked up and have really connected to and decided to stick with a label for yourself as an alchemist. Why?
The reason why I like the word alchemist is because I think there's lots of ideas thrown around and there's a lot of information coming at us right now. And what I've noticed that I was able to do was to take a framework that I had designed for my own life, and I learned it from great leaders and mentors, and then I executed on it, and now I'm here to inspire. And was it easy? No, it's not always perfect, but I know that every day that I follow it, if I can attract other people who want to do the same thing and I educate them on that, I can give them the mentorship and the alchemy to put all of these pieces together that will for sure give them a result that's much more impactful for them right away. And that's what excites me. And now, not only as a person, because a lot of the business leaders that come to me tell me they need to grow their sales, they need to grow market share, profitability, have better, retention of staff and clients. So when I go through my framework that I do, I'm looking at them first personally to see what the leadership chemistry really is, and then taking that chemistry and being able to put that in a place where the rest of the entire organization can actually understand it and follow it, because now it allows leadership to take place. And so when we put all of those pieces together, we fulfill each other's human needs, not only as a leader, but also as their staff. And
What's
then
your favorite case study? Like if you had to pick one that you would say epitomizes that journey of an alchemic experience where you have the same frequencies, where it's synergistic, where you're learning from them and they're learning from you, and together the frequencies just improve the clarity, the ability to execute, the energy that comes with being in the right place with the right people at the right time. Who's your favorite?
Well, I have a client right now, I've been working with for, gosh, it's a lot of years already. And I find it funny because this is the type of client that was all about trying to find just business strategies. How do we advertise different? How do we do this? And when I really went through and I was developing the framework to start, I'd realized that they were very not goal driven at all. They didn't really know what was a win. They were so reactive. And when we started to talk about how their goals would relate to the way they'd feel better coming home at night, right away they had argued that, Troy, I don't want to go down this personal world. But I started to find out they had challenges in their marriage, they had challenges with their children, they had challenges with their friends and community, and things just weren't working out, and all they did was work. And so it was really, really quite interesting. So I started working with him on the personal level and then came back to the business side. We started work then figuring out who is your ideal client, your non-ideal client, and what's the emotional intelligence of those clients at the deepest level, at the cellular level, so they could understand that. Then we moved into what are we saying to those ideal clients? Because right now what you're saying doesn't even tell me anything that makes me want to be attracted. And then how do we educate that person so that they can be more, in line with the message that you're giving, and that they understand that you know them at the emotional intelligence level? And then how are you deploying that? And as we were going through all of this exercise, his whole entire team started to really become involved in how all of this comes together. And before, when that individual first started with me, he was working, 14, 16-hour days. Now he works, 8 to 9 hours a day, but only for 3 or 4 days a week, right? His
Wow.
family's never been closer. His children are more excited about his business now than I think he is. And
Uh-uh. That's
staff
big.
are retaining longer. There's less arguments and challenges. HR issues have dropped. And now he has more clients that are referring people organically, and now word of mouth is actually happening rather than advertising so much. So he starts to build this chemistry. He's building this community where there's lunches, and people from his customers are coming over and helping barbecue at his site, right? At
That's
his
so
office.
fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because it's all this one community. So I think that that would be one of many that are quite similar. And so at
Okay, so
first,
let's stay with that one.
yeah.
Give me a quantitative analysis to show me from start to finish what the ROI has been.
So ROI would be A, they're not on the brink of divorce anymore. And him and her both had told me they'd have probably spent around 100 grand in legal fees if they had continued on. They'd have broke things up, and now they'd had been forced to pay on 2 homes versus one. And it just would be not good. So from a personal standpoint, that's where that was. Looking at their physical health, they had started to have a lot of challenges physically, taking a lot of anti-anxieties and depressants, and and just not being in a healthy place.
Mhm,
The other ROI then would be is the relationship with their children, because that
mhm.
increased a lot. Typically, children of executives or business owners do have challenges where it can either be good or bad, where either you're taken off really well, but unfortunately some are become depressed and have challenges that cost the community and these families even more money and heartache. And it's not that every business owner is, everything's horrible, but when you actually look at a large piece, 70 to 80% of executives, like you and I have talked through, is when you created My Legend, is looking at how people are stressed out and affected. So the personal ROI was massive. Kim, on the next part, staff retention. When we looked at salespeople in his
Yeah.
organization, they were coming and going constantly. We've calculated we were
What did we
losing.
say? Like $140,000 every time you have to replace a salesperson? Is that about right?
He said that it was costing him definitely 140 to $1 million, because
Wow.
some of the accounts that he would hand off to this clients or to these new people,
Ooh,
they would be gone forever. And some of these people were spending
yeah,
dollars,
that's expensive.
right? So retention and morale. So when we did their 360 type review that I do with them,
Yeah.
then they had definitely increased the satisfaction of the people on their workplace. So we saved money there. Then on the next part is recruiting costs. So when we're recruiting executives or other people for the team, it often gets expensive because we're paying 20% of what their income is. And so if you look at a person that's doing $100,000 or $200,000, we're spending a lot of money, $20 to $40,000 just in costs.
To
And
get
then,
them.
yeah, and when you have happy staff, they often start recruiting for you. The next part, Kim, would be for the ROI is now we're more aligned with where we're spending more time with profitable customers rather than nagging customers that are less profitable, both financially and emotionally to our team. And so what's happening is we're getting into a place now where the customers that are aligned with our core values for that company are referring other customers as well. And they're looking for more ways and open to more ways, actually demanding more ways that we add more value and more products and solutions because they enjoy dealing with us or with this client. And,
Mhm.
as you can tell, I take what I do very seriously with the client because I look at it as my own business. And so when these customers now are evolving, they want us to do even more and more things. And they're telling us, can you do this too? And if it's not in our wheelhouse, we're being prepared and coachable to being able to adapt and add more. So that's where the ROI would come in those 3 areas.
Have you been able to track the difference in on the ledger?
100%, yeah, because our costs go down for not for again for acquiring customers, retaining customers. So there's definitely that part. And then we're also our staff for sure. So we're looking at the frequency and what that cost was to replace and train and onboard, but also in terms of sales and profitability. Profit goes up when you can sell to the same customer with more services, and it's less bidding scenario in this place. Whereas
An
before,
exponential figure of 8.
yeah,
So compared to getting a new client on a one-off, our data when we did it for you showed 8 times the profitability based on what you just shared.
yes, yeah. So definitely, so the sales have definitely grown. I mean, this company has grown. I don't have the exact dollars in front of me, but when I think to them right now, I mean, they're at, you know, I think around 6 or 7 times their revenue what they were previous.
How did they keep up? We always have taught that one of the worst things that can happen is you get your wish and you grow, but you grow so fast that you can't keep up with it. How did they manage that simultaneously?
I think the answer would be be transparent on where the company's growing, because if you always just react and you have more work, people become almost defensive and reserved because they don't want to take on any more work. They're already at the max. But it's having these goals and then talking about it and saying to the team, to get to this place, what's going to help us and what's going to prevent us from getting there? Having more open conversations, but then having action items with accountability and empowerment associated to that, so that we can look at a staff member to say, okay, you've brought us a problem. What are the 2 solutions that you want to decide between today? And then it'll help them make the best decision. And so then when we have these, we use, a lot of things from EOS, but we're looking at what are the rocks that are non-negotiable that we're going to achieve, and then talk that through and utilize the entire team. We have found more opportunities to promote internally than it is to hire other people, because we're starting to find out that you could get ideas from a maintenance person or a janitorial person that you can't see at the executive level. So it's asking and incorporating all of the information that you can from the people around you. Yeah. So
What kind of feedback have you heard from his team about the shift in mindset?
when I first surveyed the team, about half of them were already looking for a new job. And that was really shocking. That was really tough news to hear. For not only me, but also for the owners of the company. And, to have that communication with their family and whatnot, it was a tough one. But, today, we can't really find anybody who is looking for a new job. However, there's times where we've even seen opportunities where we are asking someone if they'd like to move on to a different job or role that in another company, because we can see the opportunity that they can grow and do something good, and give them that opportunity. So it's not about who can we safe harbor in our place. I mean, obviously you want to keep everyone, but if we see opportunities for people to do other things that we can't do, that we're already allowing to get more education, then we definitely help that out. We have that encouraging place, because we don't want them to get into a place where they're stuck and we're not allowing that or encouraging it. And then they start to bring the rest of the team down because they're frustrated. I mean, I've been there in my own life. And when I became frustrated, I started to become, a negative frequency to people. And then it just didn't work out the same as it could have or should have. It's not fair to the other people.
Yeah. Let's play in that concept for a minute. I think we both agree that there are multiple frequencies that surround us.
Mm-hmm.
And if we think about it from like the old-timey radios, right, that you had to tune into, or you had to adjust they called it adjust the frequency, right?
For sure, it was tuning into the frequency.
Tuning, yeah. So if we take that as our premise and we think through all of the frequencies that are around us, um, when I used to work at the radio station ages and ages ago, there still are a lot of laws about where frequencies can penetrate and at what strength that frequency is allowed from the FCC. We don't have those filters in our lives unless we put them in. So if you're looking at all of the frequency channels, if we want to call them that, around us, how do we, one, identify the ones that we'd like to tune into? And two, how do we get the clearest signal and reduce the noise that comes with all of the friction of so many channels?
When you understand what it is that you have to have as an outcome for, let's use a business outcome. But when you really get clear on that outcome and you start to brainstorm on what are the things that you already know are going to prevent you from getting that outcome, so that you can decide on what it is that you're going to do. You have to think about what are the things that I'm going to hear around me that are going to help me or hurt me? What are the things that I'm going to taste, touch, smell? Like, what's my environment? As Bob Proctor would say, that's around, that's going to prevent me from that. The more you focus on the other things that are going to help you, the more you'll cancel those things out. I know that there's a sad country music song playing on Prime Country right now, but I'm not going to tune into that station because I want to be around people that are high energy today. But if I wanted to relax, I might turn on Prime Country, right? It's all there, but it's what we're tuned in today to get the result that we need. For the audience today that's listening to you, Kim, and myself, they want to be in a place of learning, high frequency, and energized. We don't want to be, well, Kim, it was really nice to have this, right? It's just
Right.
So when you
Yeah.
look at the way that a boss or a leader shows up, first 5 minutes, him or her walking into the office, you can tell by their body language, the way that they walk, the position in their face, how they're greeting people. And if they have an open or door closed when they first come into work, that sets the tone for the rest of the office for the rest of the day and or multiple days. So you need to, when you go through the front doors of your business, have to leave everything behind you that's at home so that when you go into the front door, people get the leader that they deserve to have. And vice versa, when you come home, put up 2 driveway markers, and when you cross that driveway marker and you come into your home, work stays behind you, and now you get to be the queen or king that shows up for your family. And that frequency, if you start to put that into play, you will automatically tune out and have that game face on for what that looks like.
Makes a lot of sense. So if we put that into your framework of business and personal growth and the science of alchemy, what in your what is the name of the alchemist's cupboard? Do you know what I'm talking about, where he's got all the potions and the
Oh, yeah.
elements? What is that? It's the big chest, the apothecary, right? Is that
Yes.
it?
Yes.
Okay, so what's in your apothecary for your teaching of chapter 2 that can be added? So we know nobody's going to do a black and white shift. We can do micro shifts. We can take small steps. Let me limit it to your top 3 jars in your apothecary cabinet.
I'd say the first one is to see if your life condition is equaling your blueprint. And so if you're taking a look at your goal of what you want to achieve for you personal, make sure you're doing things that are getting you there and end what's not. You have to make that decision. You will not die because of making a change, right? You and I've gone through this. And so you will not die because of making a change. You'll always be there. It's going to seem odd because you've been off track. So that would be my first one. Get super clear on getting excited about something in your life that you want to achieve. Number two is communicate that with yourself and your family and everyone you love so that you already get coaches automatically. But before you do that, ask them what they want. Your spouse and children want to be heard as well. So do it yourself first, then go ask them what they want in life. If they could have anything they want to do, or do they want to learn a new language or travel or buy a new home, try a different job, find out what that stretch would be for them and see how you can get excited about helping them and then tell them about yours. That'd be my first thing I would do today. Because it doesn't matter what stage of life you're in. It doesn't matter. You got to get rid of this whole concept that there's only one definition of success. For some people, making $1,000 a year is success. And for some people, making $100 million is success. But you have to figure out what that is for you, where you are today, and stretch yourself a bit. Do something that you've never done before and that you're not sure how you're going to do it, but put it out there. That's simple. Check with your family to find out what they want to do and start to marry those things together and get committed. Let's help each other achieve this. I've done this with you hundreds of times where you told me you couldn't, and 23 minutes later you call me back and say you did it, right?
Yeah.
So now then take that same concept to your business and decide what the business revenue needs to be and the types of people that it must serve, so that we can start to then tie in your goals with the people's problems and the solutions you provide, and deliver that in a way that just makes you the most logical sense, the leader in your industry and niche that sets the benchmark for other people to work against or work alongside.
Okay. Your last one.
I would say then for the last one is to create a delivery system that really educates your clients. Educate your clients, don't sell to your clients. Educate them so that you are always that person who comes across as consultative versus transactional. And I will finish with one more thing: is be a product of the product. Run your business exactly the way that you say you do. If you truly have values and authenticity and trust and all of those as your primaries, be that person. Live it to the fullest and make sure it's there. Empower your team to then take the goals that I just mentioned and the alignment and find out where they can see that opportunity to win or lose. Because it's all there. You don't need to go to any courses or seminars. If you actually just talk to your team and your family, they'll tell you what you need.
Odds are good. They've already seen it.
Yeah. 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 I think
Let's flip that for just a minute.
Yeah.
So if you live as a product of the product and you embody those philosophies, then that is going to resonate inside, and then you will project it outward. So let's play devil's advocate for just a minute. You and I both have a business boundary that we cannot work with individuals or organizations that are inauthentic, that operate out of integrity, that the promise of who they are and what they are doesn't match the research that we do as we study their own patterns and their own statements, and the evidence isn't matching the promise. Obviously, that's not a market that we talk to or we try to become a part of. But I think that in between this top level of I'm completely authentic, I'm completely operating in integrity versus I am a complete fraud, there's a lot of gray area. And I think from minute to minute, day to day, year by year, decade by decade, that we shift inside this pathway. Sometimes our frequency is resonant, it's super clear, and we're changing things, and that becomes louder. We've also seen where where the volume of the misconduct becomes really loud as well. So
Mhm.
offer a little bit of guidance and structure around two aspects: making sure we're operating in integrity and having guardrails up so that we don't end up on this side over here unintentionally, or as a result of something traumatic happening, or a tragedy or a shock or anything like that that wants to pull us into this land of acting out of integrity, versus operating in a business structure and making sure that, because clients and customers, they hear who you are, and often that explains why there is rejection in the market, because the truth of the message is broadcasting louder than the actual message, because they see that imbalance in the integrity.
You bring up a really good point. I think when you do, like, you go through the exercise of looking at your ideal client, your dream client, what you're going to find out is, especially for the existing businesses, if you go back a year, 2 years, 10 years, whatever, but if you go back and look at your transactions, print off your database to take a look at the business that did occur, and take a look at the people who were profitable that you enjoyed working with and it felt good to your soul. You liked them as people, you liked the way that their ethics were, you enjoyed them the way that they paid their bills and that they added value and brought value to your life. Look for the people who weren't. Sadly, for a lot of people, this is a pretty high number. And unfortunately, 80% of people only give you 20% of your profit. So look for that 20% that gave you 80% revenue and profitability, and make a list of both. That's why I'm a big advocate of not just identifying a dream client, but also identifying a non-dream client. Now you can have two checklists, Kim, and now with AI it even becomes better. But we can take the two checklists, put them together, and as you're looking at new prospects, you can study them with research. You can study them from referrals, because if you're working with a large client and you said, "Can I get someone to refer?" You can do a reference. But going through and asking each other as a team to do an evaluation, is this our dream client or not? Because rather than us becoming in that place of greed, and
Yeah.
spiritually we get in there, but then evaluating that person to understand, or that
I
client.
think we're missing a piece there. So if we look at a dream client, non-dream client isn't necessarily good or bad, it's just not the ideal.
It's not the
But
ideal.
are we missing the third component of a toxic client?
So I put anybody non-ideal or non-dream just into that part, because the outcome is toxicity, because it becomes a thing where it affects now your values within your company, and it starts to demean or diminish what it is that you stand for.
But our research shows that that middle territory that feels safe, that most of our clients fall into that middle category, that's more stagnation.
Mhm.
But I think we're forgetting about the toxic energies and devastating clients that actually destroy our organization from within. I think that the 20% at the top is
I
matched by the
appreciate
20% of danger.
I do appreciate that, and I thank you for it. I think is back to when I was talking about your previous customers to build that list for, is
Yeah.
having a category, then is saying who were companies that we actually removed ourselves from because
Yeah.
they became toxic,
Who
right?
is on the never, never, never again list?
And define why. Did it go
Yeah.
against your values? Were they practicing illegal things? Were they unethical? Was it a trust thing, a reputation thing? Because the word toxic, it's interesting you brought it up, is I think of the companies that I've been a part of where someone says, "Oh, you deal with them, we don't really want to deal with you." And it's not because, and I try to give people a second chance and say, "Well, actually, here's what you might think of that person or organization, but the truth is
Sure.
this was happening." They may not want to give them a second chance, but a
Sure.
lot of times, because people trust me and I then give the answer for what it is, they will look at that from a different perspective, but they need to hear it. I think what's super cool is you'll never get to that conversation if you're with non-ideal clients. But when you're with ideal clients, people will give you feedback to say, I don't know that I like who you deal with. It doesn't make me feel comfortable.
Oh, I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, so if I'm hearing you correctly, there are clients that will be identified by your other clients as being out of alignment.
If word of mouth truly is the best marketing, if you will, or advertising, then
Nine
start paying
times more
attention.
powerful.
So then let's be clear. Let's start asking for word of mouth advertising more.
Yeah.
How often? 0% of the time, I would say, well, let's see, just give it 1%. Clients or salespeople ask for a referral. It's not very often. They'll ask for a Google review, but they'll never get a true referral. They also will never look at asking the ideal client or their clients for what are the types of people you would like us working with. Just talking that through to see
I like
what
that.
values it is. And so if word of mouth truly is the most important thing, Kim, maybe we should start having word of mouth conversations with our clients to before it gets to a place where they start to assume or feel like they don't align with us and they go get another quote from someone else.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, so from the perspective of an alchemist, you want to do personal or business to wrap up?
I want to combine the two because I want it to make sense.
Okay. So from a growth alchemist, because I've heard you refer to yourself as a growth alchemist, what are give your happily ever after moral of the tale advice as an alchemist to move with high frequency, high momentum, high integrity, and high results?
When a company comes to me and says, you know what, Troy, I'm ready to do something different. We need something different. I want to look at, first of all, them as a person and the leadership style they are. So I need to check in with where is your vision for where you want to go? What do you want to accomplish or achieve so that I can see the temperature that you want to play into and move to, how I can help push you a little bit and guide you, and how I can make this impactful for you and your family at home. Number two, I want to get clear on, are we still dealing with the most profitable clients, and have we identified the people who are not? The third, what is the emotional intelligence of these people so that I can make sure I'm delivering a message and a product that is still solving their problems at the most deepest level before my competitor does? And how do I educate them to make sure that they understand what is the best product or service to buy? How should I be buying that? And what's the criteria? And then next, I want to ensure that they have a sales system that has the best engagement at the emotional level and the follow through and follow up so that we can be on the most impactful there. Later on, we're going to look at what are ways to innovate and be ahead of your competitor, not behind them. And then how do we make sure that we're including your entire organization's family and your customers all in one giant community that stays thriving at the most highest frequency level that you can.
Excellent.
So I do audits with that to go through that process.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime I try to derive without the other pieces, then we're dabbling in a process.
Yeah.
Which is where most people do today. When we do the whole process, that's recalibrating, and that's where we start a new chapter in your life or your business.
Fabulous. Well done.
Is that it?
Yep, that's it.
You go really serious when you're doing this talk. It's funny. You
Oh,
like,
really?
yeah, you're very serious, very different than what I'm used to from you.
Really?
Yeah.
Didn't know.
I felt more interviewed than collaborative. Yeah, for real. Like you seemed more almost like a journalist feel.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah, much more serious. Yeah, you're very serious. Yeah, see here, totally different.
yeah.
It's all good. I'm just saying, but I just, yeah, it was just different.
You have never spoken more authentically.
It felt good. I loved
Good.
it.
Yeah. It was just you. You weren't trying to remember something that I created for you or put something together so it sound you didn't worry about any of that.
Did you really hate the gold part at the beginning?
Hated it. I was so mad at you. I'm like,
So
what
why
are
did
you
you,
doing to me?
what made you come back? I couldn't tell if
I
you were trying to get something out of me or if it
No,
was
it was true.
okay. And I think one more that I think would be cool for you. I'd like to interview you in a way that I think would be fun. Because I'd like to say, Kim, what was life like in chapter one for you?
Okay.
And, what made you, what sparked you, what fulfilled your cup? Uh, we got to a spot where, I think you could probably agree that your life condition and blueprint weren't aligned, but you were determined against it. And a stroke came in to say, we do need to recalibrate today.
Isn't that the beauty of the human condition?
Hmm.
That even when we fight back and we refuse to do what all the evidence points to as the right path and we still fight it, that at some point our body or our spirit is going to come in and do the recalibration with or without us. We will get recalibrated.
Well, because you have to pay attention to like the spiritual world. God or whoever you want to say, but just for today, God's trying to tell you, I need you to do something else. Pay attention to what I'm saying. And if you're too stubborn, I'll flip the switch for you. And if I, so I think, there is a piece to that that might not seem convenient, but that's how I choose to see it. Because your body is showing you what's going on. If it's under too much stress or too many problems, it's going to tell you to F off because you're not playing in the game, right? So for you, you had a temporary thing that needed you to take a break, a holiday, go scream
Which
some,
I would never have granted to myself.
right?
Like, never in a
I'm
million,
saying,
neither of us would have agreed to the rest period that was required.
right. So it had to be decided for you. So what I'm saying then is that, I think with I think it's something that would be good for people, Kim, to hear the truth about what happens to someone who's just a real person. And in a way, like I'd like to just structure the questions just in a way and just talking it through and saying, so you've had to figure out how to find your way. Now, as a wayfinder for what you're doing, you're getting back to, and I can use the quote from the Yellowstone movie. They're not making legends very much anymore, are they? And I think that Taylor Sheridan, when he wrote that in that story, it made sense. We really aren't creating legends anymore. I mean, there's going to be the people like the presidents or the Elon Musks and all of those people. But when you really look truly hard right now, how are you at least becoming a legend in your own family? Because in
Okay.
about 30 minutes after your funeral, most of your family will already stop crying and be focused on who's taking the extra leftover sandwiches from the reception home. and they'll already be figuring out how they're going to get back to work tomorrow because the bereavement time is not there. So, as sad as that sounds, how are you making yourself a legend so that you can never be forgotten? I don't want people to throw my shit out when I die. I mean, yeah, my underwear and stuff like that, but I want someone else taking over some of this
Yeah.
and finding it fun. That's what I want, and I can't do that if I'm not the face. You couldn't do. That's why I said to you, you can't if you're a support staff,
You were right. I
right?
know that's your favorite thing to hear from me. You were right.
No, I don't. Kim, the advice I give you is the advice that I had to get and go through too.
I know.
And
That
Brian
doesn't mean I
Proctor,
like it all the time, but I
well,
sit
Brian
on it.
Proctor was. I told Brian Proctor, you need to be the spotlight, not the shadow of your dad. And then when he called me and said, Troy, I think it's time for you to take some of your own advice.
It's awful when people throw your words back at you, huh?
Yeah. So, but I think that'd be a cool little story for you to talk about why legends. And in a way, and you might want to just think about what the video was that you provided for me earlier. But I think you should also provide one that's talking to a person in a beautiful poem. Once upon a time, I was in a journey of my chapter one. I was a very accomplished executive. I'd worked with some of the greatest minds in the world, and I was sought after. People loved me. But I was becoming unaligned, overwhelmed, frustrated, and I pushed against it. At some point, the decision was made for me, and my body was shut down temporarily due to a stroke. And through that, I fought through how do I get back on track, realizing that I was pushing against something that was never coming back to me. Yet what was coming back was the next chapter of my life was being reopened, and I had an opportunity to write it. Now I could either go back to the way life was and be around the people that I was once with, or I could decide that chapter 2 started today. And that chapter 2 made me realize we're running out of legends. And who better to create this than me? Someone who has studied for you ancient tribes, studied the greatest minds like Tony Robbins, who I've already done these things for you, and I've put together the exact recipe to make sure that you're never a forgotten face, voice, or education. Because it's that wisdom that gets learned and tried and true and then passed on to the next part, which makes you the legend. My name is Dr. Kimberly Bonnickson, and this is my legend and my gift to you. And then move on, Just there's some poem there I think that you could also explain.
We talk all the time about imposter syndrome. And we can know the stats, we can know the patterns, we can help somebody else through it. But getting over that for yourself, I don't care how much I know, it still creeps up.
Are you worried about being judged by yourself or someone else?
No, I feel stupid pitching myself and saying me, 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 me.
Oh, I see what you mean. So change this around though, then to saying you are someone who's, this person. But I'm just saying for this one little piece of about me. I'll play with it and see. No one knows it until you hit publish.
I know.
Oh, trust me, this is me saying it to me.
I know. It's just hard. And even knowing that everybody else feels this pressure and feels this tightening in your gut about that's not me. I don't want to.
Okay, I'm gonna go get my back cracked.
Yay! Sounds like all kinds of fun. My crown came off, my temporary came off, and I thought I could glue it back in myself, and I thought I could get away with it for the weekend. And I think I'm being ridiculous. So I'm looking up the dentist and like,
What is wrong with you?
yeah.
No one does their own
Me count the
dentistry.
ways.
There is no one. I need you to text your kids and say, is it weird that mom wants to do her own dentistry? It doesn't even sound right. You should put that in AI just to see how it sounds.
Yes, I'm a
One thing
failed
it's one thing if you
dentist.
solder your own pipe and you want to be a plumber, but you can't be your own dentist.
No, it's a bad idea. I don't recommend it. So
What kind of glue did you use? I need to know that.
I used tooth glue. I did not glue gun. I did not super glue. I didn't do anything too stupid, but yeah.
Now it bothers me that you have tooth glue even.
That I have it in my makeup bag? Yeah, it should, because I've got 3 crowns right here and 3 temporaries that I have beautiful teeth in the works
I need to
for.
get
But
rid of a root canal. I know it's causing me problems. But guess what I
nothing
found
hurts
out?
more than mouth pain.
This root canal, it's never been better, and I know for a fact, I did some study on this. It's causing blood pressure problem.
Oh.
I found that out from Tony Robbins' doctor.
So the TMJ, the same. Like when I have mouth issues, I have body issues every
Yeah.
time. But they explained that the TMJ is connected here. That then connects to your spine. That then causes extra tension everywhere in your body. And hypertension is the definition of high blood pressure.
Yeah. And you'll get cancer out of it and everything, right? So
And yet, I shared with you that my dentist committed suicide last year, right?
right, yeah.
They are far and away above almost any other profession in devastating mental illness and suicide rates. Just horrible. So be nice to your dentist.
Yeah, I gotta find a new one, but I gotta do that. But okay, kid, good job. I'm proud of you.
Nicely done. Proud of you.
Talk to you later. Bye for now.
These are the voices rising through time. Truth in the rhythm, fire in the line. From silence to signal, from echo to flame. Legends don't whisper, they rise with a name. Voices of legends. This is the upcast. Voices of legends. This is the upcast. Voices of legends, this is the upcast. Voices of legends, this is the upcast. Voices of legends, this is the upcast. Voices of legends. This is the upcast. Voices of legends, this is the UPCast. Voices of legends, this is the UPCast.